Hello guys, you are welcome back again to this channel. So in this video I'm going to be making a baby bloomer with a skirt. So what am I going to be making use of? I'm going to be making use of my piece of fabric. This is a cotton fabric, then my lining, then my elastic. So let's get into it. What are the measurements I'm going to be making use of? So I'll be making use of my waist measurement, hip measurement, skirt length, and my thigh measurement. That's what I'm going to be making use of. So my waist measurement is 16. My original hip measurement is 20. I'll add 4 for ease allowance. That's 24 inches. My skirt length is 7 inches. And my thigh is 12 inches. I've had extra 4 inches to make it 16 inches. So let's get into it. So what am I going to do first? The first thing I'm going to do, this is my piece of fabric or my paper that I'm going to be making use of. I'm going to make use of pattern paper. So what am I going to do after that? So I'm going to go ahead. And measure a rectangle. Yes, a rectangle because the sides are not equal. So my rectangle of length 9.5 inches. 9.5 inches. I'm going to measure 9.5 inches. 9.5 inches by my waist measurement. For this top, I'm going to make use of my waist or hip measurement. My hip measurement, I'm going to be using hip measurement for the upper part. So the hip measurement is 24 inches divided by 4, that is 6. So as ease allowance, that is 6.5 inches. So here I'm going to mark 6.5 inches. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to connect. This is A, this is B, and this is C. So I'm going to join points B to C. So I'm going to join point B to C. Then I'm going to join A to B. So what am I going to do next? From that point, I'm going to measure 5 inches from here. 5 inches. In this case, that means I'm going to be adding the band. But in this case, I do not want to add the band. So I'm going to remove the band allowance. So my band allowance is like 1.5 inches. So 1.5 inches minus 1.5 inches minus what I have here, 9.5 inches. So I'm going to mark. Now we have like 7.5 inches, right? So for the band here, from here to here, so I'm going to be measuring 3.5 inches. 3.5 inches. So this is 3.5 inches here. So after that, then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to come down here and measure 3 inches. 3 inches already include the sewing allowance. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to transfer what I have here, 3.5 inches. I'm going to transfer it here, 3.5 inches. So just make sure the lines are well aligned. So I have 3.5 inches or so. So I'm going to, we have another rectangle inside here. So what am I going to do next? So I'm going to connect. If this is D, this is E, then this is F. So I'm going to be joining D to F. Yes, I'm going to be joining D to F. So let's do that. If you can use French curve, if you're not good with French curve. So I'm going to join this way. So this is what we have. And note that you might be thinking that this space is quite a bit wide, but we're going to be making use of our elastic. That's the essence of the elastic band that we have to make this fitted. And remember that this waist too also will be fitted. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So this is what I have. This is what I have. And remember, there are two methods. This is the first one. With the way the pattern is, that means if I'm going to be joining it, cutting it on my fabric, they will be joining at this point. But if I don't want to have a joining here, then I'm going to cut this on fold. So let's get into that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the skirt. The skirt is 7 inches long. The skirt of my baby is 7 inches long plus 1 inch sewing allowance to make it so that it won't be shorter. So I'll measure 8. You can make it 8, you can make it 8.5 inches. So I'm going to measure 8.5 inches long. Then the length of the skirt, because a gathered skirt, is approximately 60, almost 60. So I want it to be very full. So I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to measure 8 inches and mark and cut out 8, 8.5, depending on how you want it. 8 inches, 8 inches, 8 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. So this is for the skirt. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the bloomer. Remember I said there are two methods that you can use to cut the bloomer. Is that you have joining at the lower part or you don't have a joining. But in this case, I do not want to have any joining. So I'm going to fold my fabric this way into two. See, I'm folding into two. After folding into two, then you fold again. I folded into two. This is 1, 2. Then you're going to fold again, like the method for cutting a flare. So this is what I have after doing that. So I have 4 folds, like I want to cut a flare, but it's not actually a flare. So after that, so I'm going to go ahead and place the pattern here. Then I'm going to cut it out. So this is what I have after cutting it. This is what I have after cutting it. So when I unfold, this is what I have after unfolding. This is what I have after unfolding. So by the time I join, you notice that I don't have any joining here. And this is it. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to cut out the interfacing for this. Then I'm going to cut out the band. So let's cut out the band first. So we said the waist is 16 inches, but the hip measurement, we're making use of the hip measurement is 24 plus sewing allowance, that's 25. So I'm going to mark 1.5 inches band, then 25 inches band.